curious if we could get your thoughts on Dana White's response to the Wonderboy situation. Yesterday, he said during the press conference after DWCS, there's a much bigger story behind the scenes, and no, you don't just show up and say, yeah, I'm not going to fight. I want $250,000. That's not how it works. White continued, it hasn't worked that way for anybody. What we do is we try to get you another fight. We turn you around quickly. If you don't turn around quickly, then we try to figure out what does it cost your camp. We'll reimburse you. Okay, so last week, Wonderboy Thompson was on the show talking about the situation with his fight falling through against Michel Pereira. He also, at the time, and I think a very respectful way, had mentioned Dana White's on vacation. We'll figure it out, this, that. I don't think he was belly aching. I don't think he was being a dick about it. I don't think he was being ungrateful or anything. Did confirm that he had yet to be paid. I was the one who said, like, look, I think it should just be in the contract. This shouldn't be up for negotiation. You should know if you show up and your opponent is overweight and you don't feel comfortable taking the fight, that you're going to get X amount. Well, yesterday, Dana White was in front of the media after the Dana White Contender Series, and he had some things to say about the Wonderboy situation. And I don't think that everything that he said, I don't think that the picture that he painted was a fair and accurate one. Here are his comments from last night in Las Vegas.
Wonderboy said that he wasn't paid for showing up. Is that something new in the contracts where, like, you don't have to make weight and get your show money? Or he also said that he didn't talk to you yet, so.
Right. So how that works is guys don't just get paid to not fight. It's not how that works. Guys have been paid. We've taken care of guys. Hey, listen, if you come in and you're making short money, we take care of you. You come in and you don't fight. First of all,
pause it right there.
You decided not to fight. The guy was
so the very interesting thing about that comment there was if you're making short money. Meanwhile, like what he's trying to say, in other words, is, you know, if you're making 10 and 10, like, yeah, we'll break you off your 10. But if you're making whatever Wonderboy is making, let's say he says $250,000. So let's say it's $250,000. No. Now we're not going to pay you. Let's be very clear here. Wonderboy did nothing wrong. Wonderboy showed up and made weight and was ready to fight. Michel Pereira missed weight. He's been in this situation before, Wonderboy. His opponent missed weight. He ended up losing a very close fight. And so he is in his right to say, no thanks. I signed on the dotted line to fight a guy who weighed 170 plus a 1 pound allowance. You come in at 173, it's no longer a welterweight fight. And the UFC sold all the tickets for this. It's impossible to know who bought a ticket just to see Wonderboy. But if you think for a second that paying Wonderboy just his show or 50% or whatever they agree to, whatever it is, 2 weeks ago is sinking them when they have already allotted, they already have the budget figured out. So they know if this guy wins, it's going to be this. If this guy wins, it's going to be this. If this guy loses, it'll be this. To walk away with zero, or to be told, hey, if you're making, entry level stuff, we'll pay you. But if you're a vet who's never missed weight, who's only been a model fighter / employee / whatever you want to call it, independent contractor, nah. You can't pick and choose is total hogwash. Let's continue.
Guy was 3 pounds overweight, whatever it was. You get a piece of his purse if you take the fight. But if you decide you don't want to take the fight, we also offered him another fight.
Pause it right there.
There's a much
this
bigger
thing blows
story.
me away. To just dismiss the 3 pounds like it's nothing is so insensitive to fighters. You show up and make weight. If the 3 pounds meant nothing, then why do we strip Charles Oliveira? If the 3 pounds mean nothing, why do we even have weight classes? Let's just agree upon like some random weight. You can't just dismiss that. Wonderboy showed up. He was the professional. He made weight. The other guy didn't. And then you say he gets a percentage of the purse. Yeah, that's in the contract. Great. Okay. It's a percentage of the purse. How much is it? 10K? 20K? Really? For a guy who's 40 years old and is making $250,000, if that's what it is? That's not, you're still having to fight the guy and you still lose and you still get the L and you still go backwards and you still lose out on opportunities X, Y, and Z. So to say, oh yeah, you're just going to get a penalty from the guy and that will be all well and good, that's ridiculous. He wants it to be fair and he showed up and made weight. It should be, if you show up and step on that scale and make weight, you are entitled to X amount if your opponent doesn't make weight. No one's saying you show up on the scale, make weight, you should get paid before the fight if the fight happens. No one's saying that. But if the fight is not a fair fight, if he is not showing up at his contracted weight, there should be something. And again, It's ultimately Wonderboy and his team's fault and every fighter's fault that they don't have this in writing. You can't cry about spilled milk if you don't have this in writing. What I'm saying is this should be in writing. If you have a manager, if you're discussing a new deal, every contract is different. It should be, hey, if I make weight and my opponent doesn't, I have every right to say thanks but no thanks, and I want to get paid X amount because I made weight and you promoted me on this card, and now I'm not on the card because of someone else, not me. Continue.
Much bigger story behind the scenes.
There is no bigger story. Pause it right there. There is no bigger story behind the scenes. One guy made weight, one guy didn't. The guy who made weight didn't want to fight the guy who was overweight. That's the story. And then he's talking about we offered you another fight. What is this? Rock'em Sock'em Robots? Like, what, to suggest that the guy who just made weight is now going to have to rehydrate, train for 2 weeks, peaked. Like, we've been in this business for 20 years here. To have that little respect for the process, you don't just show up 2 weeks later. That's not how this works against a brand new opponent. Oh, you could take another fight in 2 weeks. Against who? Who's the matchup? What is it? A Shavkat Rakhmonov? Is it someone else who I didn't prepare for? Is it a orthodox guy when I was preparing for a southpaw? Like, what are the circumstances? And oh, by the way, I have to cut weight a second time in 2 weeks for a 40-year-old guy. We're just pretending like all that doesn't matter. There is no other part of the story here. That's what you guys don't understand. The other part of the story is they tried to say, hey, we'll give you a fight in 2 weeks and we'll pay for that fight. Well, what about the fight that I just had? What about the fight that I was just supposed to have? What about all the expenses leading up to that fight? Now you're offering me 2 fights, but there's one that I'm not getting paid for. Continue.
And no, you don't just show up and say, yeah, I'm not going to fight. I want $250,000.
Do you see the way this is being positioned?
It hasn't worked that way for anybody.
Pause.
So what we do is we try to get you.
It has worked that way, but everything is loosey-goosey, and one situation never, bleeds into the other because they don't pay attention to precedents. But you see the way this is positioned. Wonderboy, the nicest motherfucker on the roster, is being positioned as the bad guy here. Why? Because he is being so callous and so disrespectful by just asking for money because he did the job. He showed up. Half the battle. Oh, you don't just show up and ask for $250,000. It's not how it works. Is that really what he did? If you didn't know any better, you would think that Wonderboy made weight and said, you know what? I'm out of here. No, that's not what happened. Wonderboy made weight and was going to fight on Saturday. His opponent didn't make weight and had an advantage. That's fighting. No thanks. I signed on the dotted line to fight a guy who weighs 171 max, not 173. Every pound matters. And if you don't appreciate that, and I know he does, what are we doing as the head of the biggest organization in the world? It's crazy. It's crazy to be that insensitive to maybe the best and nicest and most respected guy on the roster. Like, he is the NMF. He is that guy. And we're painting him as the bad guy here? Disappointing. Continue.
What we do is we try to get you another fight. We try to turn you around quickly. If you don't turn around quickly, then we try to figure out, well, what did it cost for your camp? We'll reimburse you. There's a lot of different ways that this gets worked out. You don't just go, yeah, this guy's 3 pounds over, I'm not going to fight. And
Why not?
I won't take another fight 2 weeks later.
Why would he?
Pay me my show money.
Pause
Not
for a
how
sec.
it works. You don't fight.
He says, okay, credit to him. We'll figure out what the expenses are. Even if they cover the expenses, even if. So that means Wonderboy just wasted 3 to 4 months of his life and is walking away with zero. Made no money. Made no money for an entire camp. You got to get reimbursed for the camp as well if you showed up and made weight. So very nice. Are they going to pay for the coaches? Are they going to pay for the manager cut? They're going to pay for everyone, the nutritionist, this and that. This is what pro athletes have to worry about. Fine, great. I'm happy to hear that. But what about the guy who made weight? So he's going to walk away with nothing. You're going to say, come back in 2 weeks and fight someone else? Like, what? How could this be? How could it be 2023 and this is a billion, multi-billion, valued at what? 8 billion, 9 billion, conglomerate with WWE, and this is the way we're treating legends of the game. This is the way we're treating the nicest guys. How could you watch that and be like, yeah, that seems fair. Yeah, that's the way to treat the NMF. That's the way to treat Wonderboy Thompson. Like, what is he asking for? He's asking for what? Let's just say he's asking for a 250. Let's just say. How many videos have we seen of Dana and his 23-year-old friends playing poker, and he gifts them because it's Wednesday a nice little bag with 250 in it or 100 in it? Like, this is chump change to them. Chump change. Nothing. drop in the bucket. And again, I will repeat, this needs to be in writing. Ultimately, you can't cry about something that's not in writing. And so ultimately, it's the fault of the fighter and the manager for not having this in writing. But we've seen them, be kind and give plenty out to people who do, good by them. This guy showed up. The place was sold out. There were site fees. They made a gazillion dollars. The $250, if that's what it is, ain't going to sink you. All right? And then they're offering him a fight in September and saying, hey, why don't you go to Sydney to fight JDM? No. Why am I going to do that? You didn't take care of me. No thanks. Is there anything left here?
You don't fight, you don't get paid necessarily in the contract. But we always make sure that we take care of everybody. And, we're working it out with Wonderboy right now. It's all being worked out behind the scenes, and this should all be worked out by Saturday.
All right, great. I wish that was the answer. We're working it out. It'll all be worked out by Saturday. We're going to figure this out. Sorry, I was away on vacation. But the slandering of the guy and saying he just wanted to show up, to me, is just unfair. He has never done wrong by the company, and he did everything right. He showed up, guy missed weight, didn't want to take the fight. He's not the first one to do that, and he won't be the last. And more fighters should do that to try and deter people like Michel Pereira from missing weight and then going in there and having an advantage. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You can get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.